Hello guys, this is Combat Critique. Today I am giving my thoughts on the fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev. So first of all, we see that Alex is 34 years old and Islam is 31 years old. I don't think the age plays much of a difference here because we have not seen Alex slow down in the last couple of fights. So I don't think this is really a big factor in this fight. Now let's move on to the height. Alex is a bit smaller at 5 feet 6 and Islam is 5 feet 10. So usually height is a factor, but in this fight I think because Islam is so grappling heavy, I see this as an advantage for Volkanovski because he can easily sprawl and avoid the takedowns of Islam. So usually the guy with the longer height has an advantage, but in this case I think Volkanovski has the advantage in the height department. Now let's move on to the reach. Volkanovski has 180 centimeters and Islam has 178. So both are pretty even in reach. As far as the record goes, so 25 wins, 1 losses and 23 wins with 1 loss. For Volkanovski, he has 12 wins by knockout compared to just 4 by Islam. So we can see that Volkanovski is better in the striking department and he has more knockout power in his hands. In the submission department, it's the opposite. Volkanovski has 3 wins by submission, whereas Islam has 11 wins, which is almost 50% of all his wins are by submission. Whereas for Alex, the knockout wins are like 50% of all his wins. And in the decision department, we see that both of the guys are pretty good. Like Alex is 10-0 and Islam is 8-0. So I don't think like in decision they are pretty much evenly matched. This shows that both of them have good cardio, because a lot of times the guy who wins decisions is the guy who has a better gas tank. And Alex has 1 loss by knockout and Islam also has a loss by knockout. So this is, I think, very early in both of their careers. So we see that Alex is pretty much striker who's looking to put you out cold and he can also win decision, whereas Islam is a grappler who can also win a decision and can submit you. So some things that are clear from this is that Alex is not going to submit submission artist like Islam, or Islam is not going to knock out. Like it's very unlikely that Islam will knock out Alex. Now moving on to some other career statistics. Let's look at the strikes landed per minute, which is 6.79 compared to just 2.37 for Islam. So we see that Volkanovski is much more busier on the feet. Now striking accuracy 57% compared to 59, so both are pretty even here. The strikes absorbed per minute 3.53 compared to just 0.95 of Islam. So Islam like pretty much goes for the takedown, so he doesn't throw much and he doesn't get hit also. Whereas I think for Alex, he has fought thrice with Max Holloway, so I think because of that this striking average per minute is a little higher. But yeah, so Alex throws more and also he gets hits a lot more often, whereas Islam, the strikes landed per minute are not that big, but he does not get hit also. And striking defense is 60%, which is very good compared to 66%, which is like great. I think this is like a record or something. So in the striking we see that Alex is more busier and he gets hit a lot more often. Islam is good at avoiding getting hit, but he also throws a bit less. This is because he usually goes in for the takedown, so he doesn't strike often. Now coming to the wrestling part, takedown average is 1.71 for Alex, whereas 3.42 for Islam, which is the double of Alex. So yeah, we know this, that Islam's game is built upon grappling, whereas Alex is a wrestler, but he has now transitioned into being a striker and not much dependent on wrestling. Takedown accuracy is 36% compared to 65%. So yeah, Islam, if he shoots on you, he is likely going to get a takedown. Whereas Alex, I'm not sure. Can Alex take down Islam? Probably, but I wouldn't bet on it. Coming to the takedown defense, 73% for Alex, which is really good, compared to 88% for Islam, which is great. I think Islam has been taken down just once or something in his career, and this is the sub average, which is 0.2. So we see that Alex has not got a lot of wins by submission, whereas in this case it's more than 6 times, it's 1.3, and Islam has a lot of wins by submission. So from here it's like clear that if Alex wants to win, he wants to keep it standing and use his striking, and whereas for Islam, he has to use the submissions and take it to the ground. But it will be interesting to see how this 73% takedown defense holds up against somebody who has a takedown accuracy of 65%. So this is what we can see from this slide. Moving on. Yeah, so here we see some of the previous fights that these two guys have had. Max Holloway, 5-round decision. The Korean Zombie, which is a TKO, 4th round with finish. Brian Ortega, this was a close one. Brian Ortega got Alex in a submission twice, but Alex survived. And then a split decision with Max, another decision with Max. So I think these two fights is why the takedown, the strikes absorbed is a little bit higher on this slide, 3.53, because if you are fighting Max Holloway, you will get hit a lot of times. Then Jose Aldo decision, Chad Mendes TKO, Darren Elkins decision, Jeremy Kennedy TKO. And now coming to, so we see Alex, he has one finish, one win via finish, and that too against TKZ, who was not really a champion level contender level fighter. So other than that, Max Holloway decision, Ortega decision, split decision, unanimous, and then last actual finish was in 2018 against Chad Mendes. Moving on to Islam Makhachev, we see he just submitted Charles Oliveira, TKO Bobby Green, Dan Hooker submission, Thiago Moises submission, Drew Dober submission, Ramos decision, Sarukian decision, Johnson submission, T-Bow KO, and Nickland submission. So we see that all these fights he had won by submission or TKO. So from the last 2 years, he has been on a tear really, and all of his fights are ending via finishes. And for Alex, we see that most of his fights are going to the decision, except the one with the Korean Zombie, which he didn't really. I mean, Korean Zombie is not that good of a fighter right now in his career. So, and also you see 2 fights here in 2022, 2 fights here, 3 fights in 21, 1 fight in 21, 1 fight in 20, no fight in 20, and 2019 we have 1-2 compared to 1-2. So yeah, I think 2021 Islam has been more active in the last 2 years. 2020 he did not fight, and Alex just fought once in 2020, so it's fine. So Islam is really finishing guys right now, whereas Volkanovski is more of a decision machine kind, at this point in his career. Can he KO Islam is what I'm going to get in the next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the things that Islam and Volkanovski need to worry in their fight. So in the Ortega fight, we see Volk getting in a guillotine first, then a triangle. So unfortunately or fortunately, you depends on if you're a fan of Volk or not. Ortega did not get the finish, but I think this has more to do with the fact that Ortega was fatigued and there was some issue probably in the technique or some part, because I don't think he would have survived if Ortega was fresh and his technique was crisp. Actually, I don't think anybody can survive a guillotine or triangle choke that is well executed. So, and in case of Islam, we see that he has been knocked out once in his career. That was pretty early on, but it's still a threat, and I think Vol can definitely hurt Islam in the striking department. We see in the previous slides, we see how his strikes landed per minute is 6.79 compared to 2.37 of Islam. So yeah, Alex will throw a lot more strikes, and I wouldn't be surprised if he actually catches Islam in a few of these situations. However, the striking defense of Islam is pretty good, holding at 66%. So maybe he might shoot in for a double leg or single leg and survive, but Alex will tag Islam, I'm like pretty sure in this. But will he get hurt? I don't think so, because Islam has been wrestling and he knows how to shoot in for a double or single just to stall in the momentum of Alex. So with this, I come to my last slide, which is who do I think will win this fight, and the answer is Islam. So that's what I think. I think Islam will win, and not only do I think he'll win, I think he'll finish Volkanovski, because he's been on a finishing streak in the last 2 years. So Drew Dober, he won Moises, Hooker, Bobby Green, Charles Oliveira, and this was like in the second round, and Oliveira, a lot of people were saying he'll finish Islam, but it's actually the opposite. So I think Islam will finish Volkanovski. If I had to put my money on it, I'll put on Islam. So yeah, Islam by I think second round submission.